This is Keys to the Shop, episode 195, Organizing Community with Espresso State of Mind. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFurio. I'm your host for the show. Thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to the new year. This is the first episode of the new year, the first main episode that is, and I hope that it is going well for you. Now, if you have not yet subscribed to Keys to the Shop, I would encourage you to hit the subscribe button, and that way you will be updated whenever a new episode comes out. And if you have the opportunity to rate or review this show on iTunes, that would be really appreciated also. And I always encourage people to share these episodes with a friend if you can. Spread the love and spread the information. There are a lot of great ideas here shared on the show, and those ideas will make a greater impact if they are shared. So today's episode is brought to you by Prima Coffee. Prima Coffee is one of the world's best specialty coffee equipment suppliers, helping you outfit your shop with the best equipment, and not only the best equipment, but helping you decide what is the right equipment for your situation. They search the globe to curate the best equipment for whatever you happen to need, be it grinders, espresso machines, under-counter refrigeration, brewers, sinks. I mean, you name the piece of commercial equipment that you need in your shop, and Prima Coffee has it. They are dedicated to your success in specialty coffee, and they're really fantastic folks to work with too, so I highly recommend them. Right now, they are running a special for Keys to the Shop listeners through January 31st. You can get 5% off your order with some restrictions, 5% off your order when you go to prima-coffee.com/keys. Again, that link is prima-coffee.com/keys. Use the promo code HOLIDAY5. That's the word holiday and then the number 5 afterwards to get 5% off your order. Again, that's good till January 31st. If you're in the market for commercial equipment and you want to work with the best in the business, prima-coffee.com/keys. This episode is also brought to you by the Pacific Baristas Series. The Baristas Series is a line of amazing plant-based performance beverages that really elevates the plant-based options in your cafe. They are not only designed for the professional barista, but they're also designed with the professional barista. That means with the input of tons of professionals from all over the world to make sure that they are formulated to perform on bar, to take the heat from steaming, to create a really silky texture that is perfect for latte art, and to keep the flavor balance of the beverage focused on coffee. And you can expect that kind of performance from any of the beverages that you choose, whether it's oat, almond, rice, coconut, soy. You will not be disappointed. And I encourage you to bring this into your cafe and test it out for yourself. See how your staff like it. See how your customers like it. I really do think you're going to be impressed. Go to pacificfoods.com to learn more. Follow the link in the show notes and get this in your store. See how the Pacific Barista Series can elevate the plant-based options in your cafe. All right, so today we're going to be talking with Javier Alvarez and Joseph W. Gonzalez of Espresso State of Mind. This is a company that is focused on bringing baristas together and also being kind of a liaison or networker for the barista community of wherever they happen to be throwing these events. They do catering events, they are consultants, they do content, and they do throwdowns like nobody's business, except their business, of course. And then they do a really fantastic job, and their enthusiasm is really contagious. I had the pleasure of meeting them as they attended Coffee Fest and competed in latte art, where I work as a judge, but while at Coffee Fest helped organize a throwdown after the trade show. And ever since then, I have seen them in all different corners of the coffee world, and really happy to get them on the show to talk about their story, finding coffee, finding each other, as business partners and founding Espresso State of Mind as a brand for coffee professionals to exceed and to be successful as professionals. So in this conversation, we are going to be diving into some things that I think are really going to be helpful for you if you are hoping to organize your community. They have some really invaluable insights that they've gained over the years of operating Espresso State of Mind since 2017. And I hope you learn a lot and are encouraged. Ultimately, I really do hope that you feel the motivation to just get up and start and get up and do something. If you've been sitting on it for a while, that this is the episode that will help you spark a fire in you to do what you can with your community. That's what it's all about, right? Helping each other as professionals in community, and really glad to feature the work of Espresso State of Mind to that end. So here now is my conversation with Javier Alvarez and Joseph Gonzalez. Well, Joe and Javi, thank you so much for being here on the show. I'm excited to get to talk to you about Espresso State of Mind.
We're thrilled to be on Keys to the Shop. Very excited.
Yeah, this is we're humbled and it's a pleasure, man. Thank you for having us.
So I got to know you guys just by being at Coffee Fest. Y'all cover Coffee Fest events and a lot of other events, and your company, Espresso State of Mind, seems to be just everywhere, to be honest. So we're going to explore what you're doing with Espresso State of Mind, but I want to know a little bit about your backgrounds and how you came into coffee and how you came to find one another and found Espresso State of Mind. Maybe, Javi, we'll start with you and go to Joe.
Thanks, Chris. So it was actually pretty simple. I've been in coffee for about a decade now. And for the first 7 years of my career, I didn't know that I wanted to have a career in coffee until I started really getting into latte art. And with getting into latte art, I wanted to get to know people with latte art. So I went on Instagram every day at work and I started recording my pours and trying to be this like first ever coffee barista vlogger. So at some moment, I got probably the best DM I ever gotten in my career, and that was the BX Barista.
Appreciate that, brother. But yeah, so my name is Joseph, also known as the BX Barista. Also Theo Joe now, which is pretty cool. But appreciate that title. But I have been in coffee about 8 years. I spent about 4 years ago, I spent my first year and a half going to throwdowns by myself, not knowing anybody, and losing all the time, and not appreciating the throwdowns for what they truly are, which is community. It is a future job. It is a job for somebody else who's looking for something. Just the love, the community, the camaraderie that truly comes from the throwdowns. But basically, as well as doing coffee, I am also a balloon artist. And through my balloons, I already had a following on Instagram. I opened up a coffee shop with a few young baristas who saw my Instagram and felt that there was some kind of potential for it. I'm old school, I'm 39 this year, so not old, but social media isn't my thing. So with the help of my guys, they started showing me some cool stuff, which led me to Javier. I saw one of his videos, and basically he was not shaven, long hair, and his shirt was wrinkled, and then he snaps his fingers, and now he's shaven, his hair is nice and put, and the shirt is nice and pressed. And to somebody else, it's like, oh, well, that's just simple camera stuff. But to me, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. So I hit this kid up and found out that we were maybe a 10-minute walk from each other and working distance. One thing led to another. Hav started showing me how to better my social media game, and I started showing him how to do coffee, everything from steaming better latte art to truly dialing in a shot of espresso, which then led us to his very first throwdown.
So my very first throwdown, I'm this coffee blogger, so I was this guy with walking with a camera, a tripod, and a road mic everywhere. I was like, I'm gonna vlog everything. I think this is super cool. Then I walk into Variety in Chelsea, and I witness 30, 40 baristas all come together from this event that nobody's ever known. And I've been in coffee at that point 7 years, and to see that the competition, the energy, the ability to put all these people together in one coffee shop amazed me. So at that point, I knew that all I wanted to do was pour latte art, not because of I want to become champion, but because I get to meet 30, 40 baristas on a monthly basis. And that kind of just took off. And then it's so funny. I have background in business management. I went to school for business. I went to launch a business, and I threw the concept to Joe. I was like, "Hey, Joe, you know what makes money? Catering. You know what doesn't? Coffee shops. So let's cut the middleman and let's build this coffee catering company." And then Joe, at that moment, landed probably the best gig we've ever done for Godiva in Midtown, and we were first before Espresso State of Mind. We were the Borough Baristas, Joe.
What a bad name. I mean, good name because I'm from the Bronx and Javier's from Queens, so we thought it would be cute, the Borough Baristas, as in, representing your borough. But yeah, first gig was Godiva. And then after Godiva, we actually got reached out from a coffee shop out in Nebraska called Barista Daily Grind, who gave us our first consulting gig. And they flew us out to Nebraska, and we helped them open up their second shop. We taught latte art to their up-and-coming baristas, and their second shop was opened up. And, it was just quite the amazing experience. One of the baristas took us on her farm. And when I say took us on her farm, we were riding ATVs for half an hour, 45 minutes. And there was probably still another hour's worth of field. It was rather amazing because we're city boys. So, we appreciate all that stuff. But I don't think either one of us have actually truly experienced it. So from Nebraska, we came back home, and me and Hob looked at each other and we said, okay, we need to really hone in. So thanks to the great thinking of Hob, I mean, we got our licenses, we got insurances, all that good stuff. And then as well as all of that, one thing that Hob always kept pushing was, we need to document, we need content. And I guess that would lead us into the next thing, which is where you basically first met us, and that was through doing content. We started working with different coffee shops as well as different brands, bringing them together, giving them, their minute of time that they wanted out on social media. Something that Hav pushed, and just like Hav said, he always had a camera his first year out there. So that led us into the next one.
So we had this dream that we were like, okay, we're gonna just do catering. We're gonna make $1,500 an event, and this is how we're gonna build the evolution of the career baristas. However, we then got hit the wall. I guess every small business owner gets to, and they're like, oh, how do we get more clients? Like, how do we promote? And then it clicked. Joe at the time was working for Noble Tree in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and we had this beautiful shop, and we were like, why don't we just do a Christmas throwdown? And then Joe was like, no, let's do it a holiday throwdown. The idea of the throwdown was, hey, if we can get 40, 50 people on December 21st to Red Hook, Brooklyn, we got something here. And later, then December 21st came, and 100 people came out to Red Hook to support our first ever throwdown. Wow. And we had no idea what we had at that moment until the night of. The owners didn't even believe that we would. They were like, hey, if nobody shows up, we understand it's December. So that kind of really kind of give us a nice little like light bulb, like, hey, let's just keep doing throwdowns. Let's do throwdowns for baristas by baristas. You know, that was a big concept for ours. You know, it's like, hey, if I love barista competition so much, let's see how to create one every month. And then we went to Barista Nation.
Well, before Barista Nation, the first big one that we went to was Baltimore.
Oh, that's right.
The first big one we went to was Baltimore. Coffee Fest. Actually, that's where we probably first met you, Chris. And at the time, actually, I wasn't even competing. Hav was competing, and he made it to his third day. I had the pleasure of working with Faima USA, which worked out great. Good partnership. Shout out to Faima.
So we appreciate you, Chris, for voting for me to go to the day 3 on Baltimore 2017. You know, that changed my life. Just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, wow, you did it.
I mean, unfortunately, he went up against a wall called Emily Bryant, the champ. Mm-hmm. But we've all taken one. She took me down recently at Seattle, and it was still an honor. And not every day you get to go up against the best,
Right. So I'm fascinated by how you've built Espresso State of Mind to sort of build community, but it's also a business that it needs to sustain itself. And so what were the kind of things that you're looking at as you're building this that made you think, okay, well, here, what were your goals? Okay, so we can say KPIs or key performance indicators or something. What were the things that you're looking at saying, this is what we need to do for the year? Like once you're established, what do you look at and say, okay, we need to hit these numbers, we need to hit this many events this year in order for this to be something we can actually legitimately keep doing?
So I'll take this, Joe. So I think the first thing I told Joe after Noble Tree in the car, I think the night of, I was like, Joe, no matter what happens, let's give it a year. Let's just do and give back for a whole year, and not even think about a single dollar of making money. And let's grow this. Let's give back as much as possible. One of the motivational factor for me, and just personally, is the fact that our industry is so undervalued. Like there's baristas in New York City starving on a day-to-day basis, just trying to make a living. So a part of that was like, hey, I need to give back because one, I'm a little bit financially more stable than other baristas, so I want to be able to be the one that is confident enough to create things. So what we did was we're just going to reach out to everybody. Chris, when I tell you everybody, we went to every coffee event for the last 3 years to shake as many hands as possible, to be like, hey, would you want to be a part of the event? Would you want to come and give back to the community? And then we slowly realized that everybody wants to be a part of a community or give back to the community. There's just nobody navigating that. And every month, we did throwdowns. We realized that the coffee shop owners want to get exposure. They want to learn talents. There's a lot of coffee shops that do bad in New York because they just don't have access to quality professionals. And then we realized that everybody that goes to these throwdowns are the ones that care about coffee because they come here, but they're actually the ones that are the best in New York. So that's really what kind of made us, it's like, oh, we just got to keep growing and showing and giving this accessibility to other clients.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. We, in a sense, turned into a liaison to connect all the businesses with the baristas. Pacific Foods, 1883, Hollander Chocolate. Like all of our sponsors are dying to do something in the coffee world. The problem is they don't know who's out there. So after Baltimore, Javier looked at me and said, we got to hit up all places. So when I say we hit up all places, it wasn't even just Coffee Fest and Coffee Festival. I mean, we did all the throwdowns in Connecticut. We did all the throwdowns in Jersey. We did throwdowns in Philadelphia. We actually did, we did a 2-day tour where we drove all the way down to Virginia, threw down to Virginia, slept at the hotel, then drove up to DC, threw down in DC, then jumped in the car and drove 5 hours home to New York. Why? Because we had to open in the morning. You
Gosh,
know,
man, you guys are
um,
hustling.
yeah, and I mean, this is what we did, and it was really cool because we've also been blessed to have the proper crew behind us. Like well, we started what we felt was a revolution. And why we say that is because before we started doing all of this, and before ESOM became something, you wouldn't know a barista worked at a coffee shop unless you walked in there by mistake. You would walk in and go, "Oh, I didn't know you worked here." Why? Because there was no family, there wasn't no community. So one of the big things that we wanted to do and preach was bringing that together, and it's great. Now we actually purposely go to visit each other. We know what shops are at. We all conjugate to like certain places just because we know that the coffee's going to be good and the barista's there. Really bringing that together and connecting everybody.
Let me ask you this. So in these events, I'm interested in some of the operational aspects of this. There are going to be opportunities that you can't do, or maybe even, and tell me if I'm wrong, but maybe not every opportunity is the right opportunity for you. Are there things that you look at that you say, okay, this is the kind of thing that we should be involved in now? That really is like on brand and is a good opportunity for community? And are there other things that you think, well, this seems a little bit too commercialized, or this maybe seems a little bit like outside of the realm of what we do? How do you manage your choices when you have to spend your time a certain way throughout the year? So how do you choose how to spend your time and in what opportunities?
So that's a very good question. I think what was very simple for me personally was that there's not enough of what's going on. So there's not really that many events to even consider not going to one. We just went to everyone because one, we were obsessed with competing with each other at latte art, and also like discovering talent. Like there's a whole another drive to the whole going to every event. We're still baristas, we're still competitors, we still love the art of it. And if we met, all these famous people, that's just the icing on the cake. I wanted to create a vision or a path where baristas, if they decide they want to become a barista for the rest of their lives, but now I have to figure out how to make money, then or follow how to grow as a barista, just do what Espresso State of Mind did. Go to every event. Some events were boring. Wouldn't lie to you. Some of them didn't treat us nice because we were a couple of New Yorkers. A couple of them we were winning throwdowns, so we would have some back. But for most of the part, the beauty about the coffee community is so uplifting. Everybody's trying to do good, and I think that's really what kind of drives us all. It's like we want to do as good, and I think a lot of people in the coffee world or even USA, they also want to do good. They just don't know how.
This is networking for a lot of people. It's not just for you. Like you said, you're giving back to the community, and so you're creating these events, you're creating these opportunities by hosting these events. So let me ask you this then. We've talked a bit about throwdowns on the show before, and I want to ask you a similar question, which is when it comes to organizing an event, what are the things that you're doing to put on a good event? What would you say are the key things for somebody who's listening to this who says, I want to do something similar in my hometown because Lord knows there's not enough opportunity for us to get together? From your experiences, what are the things that really electrify people and create this kind of community that you're going for?
All right. I mean, I guess the first thing I would say is connect to your audience, right? For example, we had a very, very tiny coffee shop called Saltwater that looked at us and said, hey, we want to throw a throwdown. And we set up a 16 team. So there was teams of 2 baristas, and we set up what we call a 2v2, and we had a little fun with it. But basically, we had 50, 60 people inside of a space that was maybe fit for 40, and we didn't have everybody inside. What we did was we put a massive big screen TV, and this is something that we rented. We didn't even have it at the time. We rented this big screen TV, and we set it up so it was at the window outside the shop. So we had 20 people outside the shop watching this, not to mention all the people that were walking back and forth. And then we had the people inside watching it as well. Connecting to your audience. As well as that, have yourself a good MC. That always works out huge. Someone that, can constantly attention, keep the party going, revving it up. Another thing that I would say is super huge with these is your judges. Judges go a long way. It's not always easy to get credible judges. One thing that we do that we learned from our people down in DC, shout out to DMV, they incorporate the winner is the judge for the next throwdown. One, that's a way to kind of cut the monotony in case somebody's just really good. Give other people a chance. Not only that, but you always have a credible judge on the panel if they want to throw down. Obviously, they know how to judge a throwdown.
Mm-hmm. So to piggyback off more on like the setup side before even the event, and like a lot of people fear, it's like, hey, and I think this is the number one asked question: how do you get all these sponsors? And then for us, we're like, oh well, we just ask. We ask them. We say, hey, what would you want to do? Like, well, how creative you want to be, and then you create these budgets, which then creates these more opportunities to be more innovative in our events with just camera gear, video content, photography, Joe being on the MC. I value the idea of having somebody on the mic and being able to narrate a whole throwdown, because sometimes it will get it flat. So, we're always, every month, we're always trying to get a little bit better, trying to do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, not only that, I mean, we've done everything from live performances, MCs coming in doing spoken word. I mean, it's been really good. I mean, we've, and just like Jav was saying, don't be afraid to ask. Literally, don't be afraid to ask. There are tons of companies out there, and I don't have to say it because there's just tons. There's tons of companies out there that are looking to connect with the barista community. Once again, the problem is they just don't know who to talk to. So, reach out.
Chris, there's a lack of like leaders in communities, around the U.S. that kind of, hey, if there's more leaders to, narrate more events, a lot of more opportunities can be created. A lot more baristas can care a little bit more. It's like a trickling effect. I think we do have the luxury of being in New York City to be having so many shops around us, and we get maybe 5 no's, then we get 5 yeses, and then we really go from there. We're baristas, so I always say, hey, what do I want to see at the throwdown? What makes it worth it? What's the point of doing the throwdown? Are we just coming here to collect the winning prize and walking home, or are we here trying to network, build relationships, connect with other people, make relationships? And it's kind of been the manifestation of that. It's kind of been pretty cool of seeing from our events.
Av, your venue is this throwdown, and it applies to other areas too. You could organize anything. It could be a cupping, or it could be some other kind of networking, coffee related thing.
Triangulation.
With the same, exactly. That's like the same philosophy of being the one to take the reins and say, okay, you know what, let's do this. And the question I have though is, I mean, you both seem like pretty confident people. And Joe, you had, a career of like being in front of people, demonstrating something. Like I'd be fearful. I'd, obviously pop every single balloon that I touch. And, Javier, talking about, studying business and administration, etc. So you seem like a couple of pretty confident guys, and maybe I'm just, coming to the party after you've developed that. But I can hear a lot of people saying like, I want to, but who am I to be the one to do this? And like talking themselves out of it. I wonder if you could talk to that person and say something about your experience and help them over that hurdle.
What I would tell that person is, hey, we don't have an ego. We don't really want to do anything more than just have a successful career in coffee. Like, we love what we do. Like, people tell me, it's like, hey, do you want to do something else? Like, no, I love making drinks for people. I love it, but it's sustainable, right? Right. So now we go into the part. It's all right. How am I going to grow into a career in coffee? So I got to meet people. So it just if you're implementing things for your career, that is the reason why. If you want to like experience growth, you just don't know how and you don't see it, then use these tactics that we've kind of set in place and see how it applies to your neighborhood. You wouldn't know. Like, the ability of shaking 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hands in your same industry is so rich, that is so undervalued in our industry. So that would be my 2 cents into that.
Me, I would say just do it, just enjoy it, just have fun. It's very unfortunate in coffee you have you can have just as much negative as positives, just because of everything, from just being kind of looked at as, oh well, you're a barista, you make the pretty coffee. Doesn't high schoolers do that? You work at Starbucks, stuff like that. Not knocking on Starbucks, but just basically, they're looking at you as in your job actually isn't something. I have a trade, I have a skill. This is something that I can teach someone, and you know what? You can go out there and you can make a couple of dollars, and you can make a name for yourself. One of the main reasons we do the throwdowns is to actually add value to the barista. Because yes, it is great to learn the latte art, because it does stuff, but now all of a sudden I can go out and win $500. Or for example, recently Mark won a trip through Pacific where he is getting his ticket, as in plane ticket, and his hotel accommodations, as well as an entrance to Portland, SEA, for free, because he won a throwdown. That's a good chunk of change that goes a very long way. This is something that you can win. I mean, I know plenty of baristas who don't really care for the latte art, but you know what? They practice and they go win. Why? Because it pays the rent. It's photography for their kid. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. So I would say go out and do it. Enjoy it. Enjoy the coffee life, man. I mean, if you really want to do it, there's opportunity for you. Just go out and grab it. A lot of times people want to stay back. Just go out there. Also, surround yourself with some good people. That truly goes a long way.
So just piggybacking last on that, I think, what I realized about the industry and how specialty coffee has boomed, especially in New York City, is that we are so valuable. Like, the fact that you are a 5-year barista and you know so much about coffee, and that is undervalued to people that just don't know any coffee. But we also found a trend, Chris, that there's a lot of non-coffee people opening coffee shops, and which it excites me, because that creates opportunities for the barista that makes $10 an hour. You're no longer valuing that barista as somebody that's pulling a shot of espresso. You're valuing how to run a whole shop, how to properly do your coffee program. So, like, these are the evolutions of what I see baristas can be. And if that's what you want, if that's what you want to do, if you tell yourself, hey, I want to just do coffee for the rest of my life, but I don't know how to do it because I don't make no money, will, change.
The challenges of taking on something like this have to be there. Going and, traveling and setting these things up. What have you found to be the most challenging aspect of being this liaison for the community? You mentioned there's some people that didn't treat you well in the venue. What are some other things, especially thinking of people who want to take this on a little bit where they are? What kind of things should they be prepared for that might kind of throw them off track and want to quit?
I first and foremost, something I work with, and shout out to Ha for helping me with this. Appreciate rejection, so to say. Like, don't take it extremely personal. Understand that, hey, you're asking. Sometimes they say no, and that's okay. End it professional. Do it right. Don't take it personal, because it isn't. Sometimes it's just business, but also the beauty of this is that it also comes back. If the first time no, then you know what? You ask again. You know what? Maybe now they're in a better situation. Maybe now it's in the new fiscal year and they have a couple dollars. Like you just never know. So, one thing that I would say very, very much so is do not take anything personal.
I would say, like, more on operation side, you're the front line. Like, me and Joe are the front line. If we don't make this phone call, if we don't do this email, if we don't get this venue to approve, this competition doesn't happen. We there's been countless times where the shop has canceled on us a couple of days before the event.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow, we have all these sponsors in line. There's all this pressure. There's a lot of people anticipating this event. So it's our job to make sure that we pull this off. And fortunately, because of our friends and our network and the ability to meet so many people, we can easily make a phone call and, hit somebody up and like, hey, we need a shop. Can we do it? And then for most of the part, they usually have our back, I think that's been really the toughest part on it. It's like everything's on our hands, but, we take that responsibility.
Yeah, you have to appreciate the unexpected, because it does happen. Be ready for it. Not always have plan B and C. We don't look for one location now. We look for 3 locations, and we do it because this stuff has happened. We always have plenty of options. We're always prepared. Something that you have to understand when you're taking this on, there is a lot of responsibility. One thing that we have is we have each other. If you're going to do this, make sure you have somebody that can take on just as much responsibility. Not only that, but can also sit there with you, empathize, and understand what you're going through, because you guys are going through it together.
Mm. Here's a practical question for you, and I love what you're talking about here, and in the kind of the camaraderie and sharing some of that responsibility. The personal, taking things personally too, is huge, especially for baristas, because there's a culture, and this is like the whole emotional labor of being a barista. You deal with a lot of attitude sometimes, like every day. And so when you go to organize something and then you get that attitude from coffee people, it would probably throw you off really heavily, because you wouldn't expect that. Or I guess maybe you would. You know your community pretty well. You know the shops that are a little bit less cordial than others. But it is a good piece of advice to not take it personally, especially if you've got the end goal in mind that's bigger than just that moment. It's a long-term thing. So when we're talking about getting sponsors and putting something like this on, much in the same way that we've got coffee shops that need to be working with a lot of capital when they first open, you got to have the funds to be able to get the prize money and all this other stuff. What do you think is what would you suggest be the starting point for somebody if they wanted to raise money through sponsorships and stuff? What's like the baseline amount of money you think would be reasonable?
So I think the most important thing is realizing how well do you want this event to go? what do you want to do at the event? Because anybody can do a throwdown, Chris. Just, hey, let's get milk, let's get coffee, $5. Everybody goes in, and winner takes all, and that's it. The event's over. But if you're trying to create this experience where you find it valuable to invest, food and beer, and you want a big prize pool, you want to get people's attention. We started with, hey, we can get food and beer covered and get $500 for first place, we'll be fine. That's all we wanted. All we wanted to do. So I would say is figure out different sponsors that can cover certain minimal expenses, which is just the beer and the food. The coffee the shop will usually take care of, right? They usually will take care of the milk. If you really want to get people interested in an event, then you're investing in marketing. It's like, hey, how good does your flyer want to be? How do you want to create some other content to promote your event? Do you want to get flyers? Like, it's really on the desire of the person trying to organize the event sets the bar.
So it's a lot of bartering, really, getting those things 100%. Covered. Yeah. So not very much cash being exchanged, unless you're doing an event where you have to rent out a venue that's not a coffee shop that could give it to you without, for free, I guess. So you do a lot in the realm of video work and, media, and documenting the coffee experiences you have at these throwdowns. And as you've been doing this, you've mentioned this a few times as you've been talking, the state of the industry, at least where you are and where you've been. What has impressed you most over these years of conducting these events, doing caterings, and documenting the process? What has impressed you most about the coffee industry, the barista community, and how do you see it going in the future based on the trajectory you've been able to observe?
So I think personally, the reason why what I love about doing these events and the biggest value is that we have 30, 40 people of the best in our hands. Like, I can't repeat that enough. Like, that is so valuable because you're now be able to promote these professionals of coffee, which is $1 billion industry. And then you start tapping into, when we're doing caterings, how much the demand is for catering, how much the demand is for specialty coffee catering, in a sense, because there's some catering companies that just do drip and there you go, and mediocre cappuccinos. But once you start putting hearts and Pegasus and beautiful winged tulips, the demand becomes higher, which is now you've taken away the fact that you're no longer an employee, you're the employer. You set the mark. You ask. I think one of the hardest things for us is we didn't know how much to ask for in these catering companies. We didn't know how much to ask for to do these events. But I guess we always set the bar, and we kind of just always look to hey, what's possible? Are you willing to pay for $1,000 for 4 hours to do a catering event? So I think the more and more you tap in, the more you realize there's so much money to be made as a coffee professional, just because purely off the knowledge that you learn on your everyday coffee shop.
Yeah, I mean, it is a skill. It is a trade. You have it. You own it. Don't be afraid to ask. See what they want. See where they're willing to go and willing to take it. And then you can continue it from there,
Well, thank you both for joining me on the show today. And I want to ask where we can find you next. Of course, somewhere in New York, but what's next for Espresso State of Mind? Do you have any projects in the works? What should we know about, and how can we find you online?
So you can find us at Espresso State of Mind on Instagram, Facebook, as well as YouTube, TikTok, and a bunch of other stuff, because there's way too many. But as well as that, I guess our next event, ironically, is tomorrow. It's our third annual holiday throwdown. So this is our third anniversary of what started it all. So it's actually pretty sweet to sit here and talk about what Espresso State of Mind is, because it truly started yesterday. I mean, truly started tomorrow, 3 days ago, 3 years ago. So we're really excited about that. And
and I think our next big moment, and we'll get to see you, Chris, is when you're here in New York City for Coffee Fest New York.
Right.
And we'll be doing our annual New York versus the World too. So we just announced it here, March 9th.
Excellent. March 9th.
March 9th, yeah.
You got the venue?
We have the venue, but we will keep it a secret.
Yeah.
It's something special.
Awesome. So March 9th, New York versus the World Throwdown. And online and social media, where can we go to find out more information about y'all?
Yes, on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Because reach us out in the DM, guys. If you want any questions for events, sponsorship, we would love to also sponsor events. We also love to give back as well. Or just some advice. Hit us up on Instagram, DM, all DMs, Joe, Life of Javi, the BX Barista.
Yeah, Espresso State of Mind. Hit us up. We're here. We don't bite. Love is love.
Well, thank you both again. I would encourage everybody to go to some of these events if they happen to be in your area. If you're a coffee fest, say hello to Javi and Joe. They're two of the greatest guys in coffee for sure. And their energy here is it's evident. They're doing great things in coffee, and I appreciate both of you for joining us on Keys to the Shop.
Thank you for having us, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. We'll see you in March.
All right. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that episode. And like I said in the beginning, I hope that it really sparked a fire for you to go and shake 40 hands, go out and network and do it. And to go out and network and meet people and take some risks the way that they did. I was just kind of thinking as they're discussing what their tactics were for founding their company, and it's just the constants that they showed, the persistence in the face of potential disaster if nobody showed up, and making it work when you have to make it work. And really what I see in them is a super strong belief in the mission of what they're doing. So first step, have that mission for what you want to do with your efforts, and then hang on to that, as you will inevitably, as they have, face adversity, have people cancel venues, have sponsors pull out. There's all sorts of things that are going to happen, but if you're dedicated to the ideal, to the vision, like they are, you're going to go out there and make it happen. And as simple as it seems in terms of advice, it really can be as simple as just go out and do it. Just take the step that you're trying to take perfectly, take it imperfectly, and then make it better the next time and the next time and the next time. And they're obviously, Espresso State of Mind is learning every time it throws a throwdown, every time they are organizing an event, and they are going to continue to do so. So you can find out more information about Espresso State of Mind by going to their website, espressostateofmind.com. There it details their events, their media services, catering, and consulting. Again, that's espressostateofmind.com. And also you should follow them on Instagram. It's the same handle, Espresso State of Mind. And reach out to them. Great guys and doing a great job helping organize community and coffee. So if you want the transcript from this episode, you can go to keystotheshop.com and you go to the contact page, fill out your information, and sign up to be on the email list, because we send the transcripts and some bonus material to email subscribers every week, and the transcripts from each episode are included in that. That again is the contact page over at keystotheshop.com, and there'll be a link in the show notes also for that. And if you want to reach out to me, any questions, comments, or feedback, or you want to work with Keys to the Shop Consulting for your business, you can go and email me at chris@keystotheshop.com. That's CHRIS@keystotheshop.com. And I should also mention that even though you might not be in a position to have Keys to the Shop Consulting come out to your store to do an assessment of your operations or to consult with you one-on-one, we can do so over the phone, and many of my clients have opted for this option, and there's some really rich and fruitful conversations that come from these sessions of consultation over the phone. So if that's interesting to you, we can set something up that works with your budget. Let's have a conversation and see what's right for you. chris@keystotheshop.com. And with that, that is the end of our episode today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned. We've got a lot of really great episodes coming up in the next month. Some cool projects that are kind of secret right now, but are going to be unveiled somewhat in the spring. And I'm excited for 2020. It's going to be a year of hopefully taking some good risks at Keys to the Shop for some great content, and all to continue to help you in your career, your business. I've really been excited to do this for 3 years now, and as I'm recording this, a 3-year anniversary kind of came and went, but time flies when you're having fun. So thank you once more, and as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.